So, um, there's just this other little, I guess, percolation that the Holy Spirit has been kind of stirring up in me the past few days. I've been thinking about it, and it's not like a real clear, like I'm not trying to make a point about it or anything. It's more like I'm not 100% sure. I just know that it's something important, and so I'm just putting it out there for anybody else to meditate on too, to let it percolate that way. Anyway, so it's a part of the story of David. Let me see. It's the part involving Abigail, and Abigail's pretty cool. But let me see what chapter it is. Abigail and Nabal. I think it is chapter 25. And so basically, David. So because I was thinking about how like so many people in the Bible, so many like there's something special about David, right? He always gets kind of singled out. Like I will never be false to David. He's the pattern of like the son of David. Like there's something it's really special or unique about him. And as I've been reading, like there's so many other people like Abraham and Moses, and that have made huge that are hugely part of our faith as well. But I was like, what is it that's different about David? And so far, the pattern I've seen is that there are things that the Lord would tell people, and he would kind of let them know. For example, with Abraham, like you're gonna be the father of all these nations, and your descendants can't be numbered. But like his wife was barren, and so he's like, eventually they're like, okay, the Lord said this, so let's figure out how to make it happen, right? And so then she's like, here, take my servant. And so then he does have a child by her servant who ends up being, um, you know, through that, your offspring will be reckoned because Sarah did have a son. His barren wife did bear a son, but not until he first tried to do it the human way, basically. And even with Jacob, like the mother of Jacob and Esau was told the older will serve the younger, but then she kind of was like, so let's make that happen, right? Like, and there's just kind of this thing of, um, okay, the Lord's given me something. Well, how do I make it happen? What do I do? Whereas David is anointed king, and again, the Lord delivers Saul into his hands, and he says, nope, I'm not doing it. That's the Lord's anointed. If the Lord wants me to be king, he knows how to make me king. It's not from my hand to do it, right? And um, and it's such a like because for me what I see everyday life stuff is like I think my mammon, when I'm talking about mammon, like there are so many things that we have control over that just can become mammon in our life, can be something in which we trust, where we don't trust in the Lord as much anymore because we're trusting in our money, our intelligence, our ability to figure things out, our just strength to push through, whatever it is. And it's like we can get away from that daily really trusting in the Lord and being open to, okay, I don't know, like it feels like we're going this way, but if you're not opening it, then I'm waiting, because David was extremely patient for his kingship. Oh my goodness, very patient. And but I was reading in it and I was thinking about like there's a story with Abigail and Nabal, and it's kind of a side thing that happens, right? Because his main battle or main struggle at this certain point is, he's dealing with the Philistines, and then he's on the run from Saul, and he's basically um, he's kind of having to keep moving, and and then right before the whole story with Nabal and Abigail, he even has an instance where the Lord delivers Saul to him, right? He's in this cave, him and his army are like inhabiting this cave, and Saul happens to walk in there alone to go relieve himself. They could have killed him, but he cuts the robe. And even that he feels like I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have cut his robe because he is the Lord's anointed. But he tells Saul, hey, look, you were in my hand. I did not kill you. And Saul is like, Saul is clearly suffering from some like related to the spirit, the almost like the tormenting spirit that was sent to him. He's so up and down and like back and forth, and he's like, I see that you don't want to harm me and everything. So then anyway, the next story is where he's out with his soldiers, and he's apparently been out, and Nabal is a very wealthy person, and it's a time of a festival kind of thing, and David seeks some money or not money, some food for his troops basically. And he had been out in the fields where Nabal's shepherds and things were, and he'd been kind of keeping watch over them and protecting his people and his livestock, and just like, just because, right? And so he's just like expecting, like, hey, shouldn't be a big deal for you guys um to just give us some food, right, for this festival time, so we can, have something to eat. And Nabal is extremely like, David sends somebody to Nabal, and Nabal just kind of blows him off and is just like, who's this guy? Like, it doesn't matter to me, kind of. And just and then that news gets brought back to David, and I think it's also partly like, with the whole situation with Saul, it's something that he knows. Okay, this is a really big deal. If the Lord has anointed me as king, the Lord is going to fulfill this. And I need to trust the Lord and be patient and watch to see how the Lord will deliver me, right? And not deliver myself with my own hands, right? Because that's such a temptation, especially for David, who was like, he could like wipe out all those Philistines. Like his hands were pretty skilled at delivering things, right? Like he could do that for himself, right? But with Saul, it was just like this big thing that was so prominent in his mind. But Nabal, he wasn't expecting this person who he's like, hey, I've just been kind to you. Will you be kind back? And then gets blindsided with this. Wait, what? You're not going to, like, why did I protected all of your stuff. I was kind to your people, and you're not even going to just give me some food for my men, like. And so he's getting ready to, hey, let's go wipe out every male in his family, his, whatever they called it at the time, like that, lordship, his servants and all of those people. Or he's going to go wipe them all out because of the disrespect and because of this thing that happened when he needed food, and he was repaid with this, right? And as he's about to go, Abigail, thankfully, who is the wife of Nabal, has heard what's going on and realizes her husband has been very foolish, which it said in the passage that his name means fool. But and for real, who would name their kid that? But anyways, um, so she goes and she brings the things that he needs, all the the food, the supplies, right? And she comes and she's apologizing for him. And what she says is she's really emphasizing, do not let his ignorance make you do something. Like, you need to remain innocent of spilling innocent blood, because even though Nabal is stupid, you go and wipe out every male there probably was like, this guy's stupid. You know how it is, like they're working for this guy who they know is, it's not, but they're at his mercy and their whim, and you're going to wipe all of these people out, and you're going to deliver yourself with your own hands and then take what you need. And Abigail, however, was in tune enough, or intelligent enough, it does describe her as being intelligent, to recognize this and to bring what is needed. And David, is his praise for her is just, you've saved me from saving myself with my own hands, right? Whereas with Saul, it was like, I guess maybe I was thinking that maybe it's like you're just using up so much of your internal strength and willpower with this one thing, because it's this big huge problem, and these little ones come out from the side, this one random guy, and then it's like, well, I'll deliver myself with my own hands for this issue, and without realizing that's what you're doing. And if she hadn't done that, and if he had done what he was planning and wiped them all out, I am sure that somehow it would have been okay, right? Like, because he's, you know but it would have been a guilt, it would have been a stain on him, that that would have been it would have been a struggle, it would have been on his conscience. As and later on, as we know, like from the story of Bathsheba and stuff, when David did things that were a problem, he suffered great consequences from him. So who knows, right, what would have happened. But it also would have deprived him, like, who knows, like that whole thing with Saul and like being patient, because the Lord kept delivering Saul like right in his hand. And it must have been a challenge for him at certain times to not, because everybody, like every time they Saul was in his hand when he's in the cave, right, and he's totally vulnerable, everybody, all of his people are saying, the Lord's given him to you, kill him, right? And like later on there, I think that like the next chapter or two, there's where he's again, like where Saul is asleep and everybody's asleep, and David goes in and takes his jug and his spear, and it's just like, look, I could have killed you again, I could have killed you, and I didn't, um but and the person who advises him at that time is somebody who is a priest, and he's saying like, look, the Lord has delivered him into your hands, strike him dead, like just do it, right? And again, it's like I wonder if the situation with Nabal and Abigail coming when she did help strengthen the resolve for the long haul of the waiting for the Lord, right? In this situation with Saul, because when she did what she did, he said, was so glad that she had stopped him, from doing that and realizing I would have shed innocent blood. It would have been on my conscience. I would have taken into my hands what is the Lord's to accomplish. And then he gets the blessing of seeing that he did the right thing in not going after them and not shedding blood, right? Because Abigail goes home and tells Nabal, listen, you idiot, this is what just happened. You almost got us, like, you almost were killed and all these things. And he falls, like, he doesn't immediately die, but basically has something kind of like a heart attack. He's comatose and then he dies. Like, and the Lord had vengeance for him. And it was like those experiences where we're able to hold back long enough, especially on those little or those smaller side experiences where we're so tempted to take things into our own hands and be like, okay, I'm going to fix this with my intelligence. I'm going to fix this with my persistence. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it happen, right? Whatever it is. And we miss those opportunities to see, oh, the Lord did show up for me. The Lord did make it happen because we get ahead of him and we're just like, where it's like, if you'll just wait a little longer, maybe it'll be like, oh, the Lord was here and he made it happen. He worked it out. It wasn't for me to be panicking about in the first place, right? Because then that comes back to what Jesus said about, like, who of you by worrying can add even a moment to your life or a bit to your, what do you call it, your height. You can't, there's so many things you can fret and fret and fret, but there's no power in it other than to make us believe the wrong way, to change our way of thinking and then take it into our own hands. And so I don't know, I really liked this because it made me think of, like, I don't know, it just made me think of that, like, this one woman, Abigail, who then David marries because her husband has died and kind of like takes her in, she's a wife, but she's not exactly a wife. I think it's more like he's just taking care of her. She kind of is, there to serve them. But anyway, um, but it's just like that. I don't know. I was thinking about, I'm like, yeah, maybe I need to pray for those Abigails in my life and the times where I'm about to do something because so many of the things, like when you look back, like again, like the story of, with Abraham, where, he gets ahead of the game and has the child with the servant, with Hagar, I believe, like that child ends up being somebody who has all of these children, and his lineage is at war constantly with the Israelites. Like, it is like the very act of taking it into our own hands that oftentimes, brings our problems back to us. Like, they come back around, like, or Jacob, when he deceives his father to get the blessing that was already given him. The Lord was already said, like, this is who he's going to be. Instead of finding out how the Lord was going to accomplish it, they went and accomplished it themselves. And then he had to leave and run away and go, work for however long to receive the wife that he wanted. And then he was tricked and given the other one because, hey, he tricked his father. Like there's just so many things, like, they come back at us, back to us when we don't wait for the Lord, and we deliver ourselves with our own hands. And so I don't know. Again, it's still percolating. I'm still making connections, and I'm not sure exactly, but I just feel like it's an important thing to keep in mind, those things. And like recognizing when I am tempted in a situation to, like, I'm losing patience, or I'm losing, and it happens to me sometimes with health things that I'm like, I've already gone through everything that's possible to try and get help, and it's just like destroys me mentally because it doesn't make any sense how difficult it is to get help in the medical system and everything. But like sometimes when pain is really bad and all those things, and I've, been sick recently and all these things, and I'm just like, it's really hard to not be tempted to be like, okay, well, I'm going to go and, this is too long of a wait. Like, I'm going to go and deliver myself somehow. I'm going to make, and it's like, but I've done that so many times, and almost every single time it's reiterates to me, don't take it into my own hands, because I'll go in and I'm just like desperate, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to, and it's like, it goes worse than possibly. And it's just because I have taken myself, or because I've basically kind of knowingly stepped out of that trusting in the Lord and started trusting in myself. Like, when it falls apart, it's like I don't have the same ability um, to be okay. Like, when the Lord is taking me through something and it's not working out, it's just like, it's not the time yet. It's not that time yet, but it's like, I feel more like catches me every time. Right. But when I'm stepping out of it a little bit, then when I fall, it's like I hit ground first. He picks me up. Don't get me wrong. But it's like, I, I, I'd rather have him be holding me through the difficulty while I'm waiting and watching for him. and learning whatever it is I'm supposed to learn in this time, so that I can get to the next season, or maybe, well, hopefully the next season's a better season. But sometimes, it's like, get a little, at least a reprieve before the next lesson begins. But and just having the right attitude about it, but it's like that once I start trying to take it in my own hands, it's something about it that just taints things, and it makes it, and then I get more confused, and it's harder to like, it's just, it makes it harder to hear the Lord. And because I've stepped a little farther away, and so his voice isn't quite as clear because I'm taking it in my own hands. And I don't know, I just thought the story was like, again, I keep just meditating on it. Is this what it is about David that was so different than others? Was that he was really like, really rating, like really trusting in the Lord, and wanting to let the, like, wanting the Lord's hand to do it and not his own, and honoring the fact that it doesn't matter if I know that this man was chosen, was anointed by the Lord, that he was put in power. And just like the Lord put him in power, the Lord knows when to take him out. And it's not, not being like, okay, I already know it. Because I mean, he knows he's going to be the king of Israel. He knows he's already been anointed as king of Israel. Everybody's telling him, take this guy's life, and it's just like, but he's just like, nope, the Lord's time, not mine, the Lord's time. And that's like, that's pretty impressive, the way that he's able to do that. And so I'm just, again, I don't know, pondering, but I'll stop talking before my ping pong ball bounces out of control.